Again, I've got some signals that have warned of a pullback or top. I should be looking for a top, but I don't think there's enough evidence out that the top is in yet. A good example of that is right here. I don't have a topping signal up here. I don't have a reversal signal up here at all. Nothing. While the other recent signals have marked a corrective move here, a corrective move here, the reversal, the top, the reversal. Those signals were correct in giving us a pullback or sideways moves. But here I have nothing. So again, we got a top over here that could have marked a top here, but we didn't get a reversal bar up here. We got it over here. And it was not confirmed. We got a confirmation, but no follow through, I should say. I don't have a reversal signal up here, causing me to believe we're probably still going to push higher. Over here, I got a topping signal. You went higher. I think we're going to get something very similar to this. And then you came up here and you got a topping tail and you got a reversal bar that followed. Okay. I had a topping signal and a reversal bar. Got another reversal bar that followed. The first one, it didn't play out. The second one, it did. And again, eventually the bars turned to red and we got the downturn. Here the bars trying to flip to red. We're getting a doji so far. Could be something like this where bars tried to turn blue right here, but it failed. So bars trying to turn red, we could turn back up or go a little bit lower towards the 200 period on the 4-hour chart as I'm talking about in this video. Again, I don't see enough evidence that the top is in yet. Signals absolutely nailed the bottom. We got the reversal bar in the bottoming signal, and then the reversal bar, the black bar you see right there, and then the trend changed right there. Absolutely incredible signals. We don't have to get the topping signals. They don't always show up. More often than not, they do. We don't have it here yet, in my opinion. Now, even though we've had the pullback, Bitcoin is still in a risk-on environment. We're still with this risk-on signal right here. And it's what I think, and we've had divergences form that have given us this pullback on some indicators. We saw risk-on diverge with Bitcoin, but it's not flipping to a risk-off signal yet. So if we bottom, if we put on a short-term bottom today or over the weekend, you still might try to turn back up. We're seeing some momentum. Signals turn bearish, and the risk line is turning back to short-term bearish here. But could it be followed by a rally if we turn back down with risk on and we bounce and we go up to the trend line, neckline, the previous highs from December, January, possibly pointing to the next high? You could get divergences forming on some indicators. Other indicators, you could get triple bearish divergences. Here, you could get another reference point of a divergence, risk on. And again, even with the sell-off, look at the Bitcoin trend. It's still positive. I don't see enough evidence that the top is in yet. I really don't. Still think we're going to continue the pop higher. I talked about over here. I don't think it's done yet. If we're going to get a bigger sell-off, we got to move into a risk-off environment. Okay, and we got to see the Bitcoin trend turn bearish. Got to start seeing signals all begin to turn bearish. I don't see it right now. Warning signs I should be looking for a top, but not enough evidence that the top is in, the short-term top. I think there are two possibilities right now, and that is looking at our first wave here. I think it's either done, which I think is less likely, starting the major pullback that I've talked about. That would be that this May peak holds, we have a lower high, we have a lower low, and we're going to continue to sell off in a larger ABC structure. I think it's more likely this is a short-term corrective move and that the wave one is not done yet and we'll end up seeing another push higher. Just what I think. Be completely wrong, but I have the guts to tell you what I think. This is the scenario that, hey, wave one is done, we're now in wave two. Here's a scenario that I think is more likely, and that is that this is a corrective wave four, and when it may not be done, we may go to the 200 or just beyond it still, but it's a corrective wave four, and that we'll get one more push higher for five, and then we get a bigger corrective move. We'll end up pushing above the 112,000 area on Bitcoin. If I start seeing all my signals begin to turn bearish, we can get the correction right now. That other alternative scenario could play out. Now, we've had momentum Momentum signals have turned bearish. Here we're below the 50 period on the 4-hour chart. We're below the cloud. The cloud is red in the future. We've seen some momentum signals turn bearish. A couple of trend signals are starting to turn bearish, but the majority of them are still hanging in there, still bullish. Take this as a pullback, and we likely get one more push higher. Get a doji today or something like that. It could mark a bottom, or over the weekend we could see a move to the 200 period and mark a bottom. But I think we could end up pushing higher, giving the RSI another push higher, and end up forming a larger divergence. Again, like what we had over here. We had this push up and got one more push up. Same thing over here. We got a divergence right here, and then we consolidated, and then we pushed higher here where we're at right now. I still think we could see something like that where we push up into another reference point of this divergence. Just my take. Again, I've marked the waves here in this bold black right here, this bold black line with a 1, 2, this whole thing extended wave 3, 4, and then I think we get 5. And I think it'll be a push higher, probably something similar to this over here. I think that takes us into the trend line in the daily time frame from the previous highs from December and January. We'll end up seeing the MACD turn and recycle back up. Parameter had a multiple point divergence. I think it likely turns back up as well and forms another reference point. Those are the two scenarios I think are in play. Bitcoin right now, it's flat, down about $13. Right now at the moment as I'm making the video, down 0.01%. So I mean, it's pretty much flat. We'll see how we close. I think you can get a doji today. Looks to be what's forming right now. I think that's very possible. Still could go down to this 200 period moving average or just beyond it. This could be a bigger corrective move. But if it is coming to a conclusion, either here or with another push down to the 200 here, I think you could still rebound. So here we're at the low at the 104,000 area. Down over here we're at the 102,000 area here near our 200 period moving average. We'll be watching these levels in that low 100,000 range. Now the awesome oscillator, I think, will form that divergence. I showed you that previously. I'm showing you that in this video. But I think the RSI is going to do the same thing. Now, maybe the RSI dips closer to the 50 level, but I think it's going to end up turning back up and getting this Class A divergence. We had almost Class B divergence right here, almost two equal peaks. Price went higher. Same thing that the awesome oscillator did. I think you're going to get this Class A divergence where the RSI makes a lower high and price goes back up to this 113,000 area or even overthrows it. I think we could even overthrow it. You can go up to the 114 to 117,000 area very easily and get an overthrow. But I do think it is very possible that we stall around that area or just beyond 113, 114, 115,000 more likely. But the upper end, I wouldn't rule that out. I think these highs are pointing to the next high. I nailed the double bottom pattern. Again, talking about these bottoms over here. Key support, the 74,000 area. That's where Bitcoin's average price was. That's this line right here. We broke the downtrend. We broke out of the double bottom confirmation. We now have a rising wedge. We broke down from the rising wedge. We could back test it. If we back tested it, you go slam up into this trend line, and you go slam up into this trend line right there at that 113,000, maybe 114,000 area. The right we go to the chart, the higher the trend line goes. Right there, it was 113,000. If we take our time reaching it, it might be a little bit higher. Eventually, we're going to get a bigger pullback. This could be it. I have that scenario marked right here. My guess is we're going to get a doji or something, or maybe a bottom over the weekend. If we pull back to that 200, and I think we rise. I could be completely wrong. I have the guts to tell you what I think. Very few people will do that. Few people. Most people predict things after they already happen. I predict things before they happen, like when I called the very day of the December top, when we were hitting a major trend line. We did the same thing at the January top. We hit a major trend line. One, called the day of the top for both of those. I called the day of the bottom for the April 7th bottom here. Also called the bottom over here, but it ended up being a counter trend rally, as we talked about, to form the larger double bottom pattern. Signals tipped me off to those tops, to those bottoms. Right now, it tipped me off to a peak right here for a pullback. Might be a reversal. I need more signals to confirm that. I don't see enough evidence of that. My guess is that we get one more pop higher. I think this is the 4. I think we get the 5 to complete the first wave higher. And I think we get a bigger pullback. We'll see how it unfolds. I think you have a massive inverse head and shoulders, left shoulder, head formation, right shoulder. I think this pattern is likely carving out. We have a doji forming. If we close that way, we could see a rebound back up, or the doji could be a continuation, pullback, or possible reversal right here, right now. My guess is that's not the case. I could be completely wrong. I'll change my mind if my signals start confirming that we have a top in. I don't see the evidence of that yet. The divergence on the stochastics giving us a sell-off. The MACD rolled over again, almost 2 equal peaks there. Again, for a Class B divergence. Could see a Class A divergence develop where we recycle back up and we turn back up and we get one more push higher. Wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. This is Bitcoin's daily chart here. Massive inverse head and shoulders. And again, bears are going to tell us, so we've got this triple top or this massive double top, this whole thing being a top and this being a top. And, you know, it's funny. Right now, people telling me how bullish the chart looks. There's no way we're going to get this big pullback that you're talking about. And it might be, just like I said, a medium-sized pullback. I'm a bigger pullback than what we've seen so far in this advance. But people tell me, no way that's going to happen. Everything's bullish. We've had a breakout. Pretty much what the herd is saying. No way it goes down. People telling me that. And then I've got other people tell me that I'm wrong. I am wrong about Bitcoin moving much, much higher. We have this massive topping pattern going on here. It cracks me up. And I think we probably get a pop. I think the truth is somewhere in between there, because I think we get a pop and then we get a pullback. But then I think we resume the advance, and I think we go much higher, towards that 150,000 to 175,000 area. Markets are designed to fool most of the people most of the time. Most people right now are extremely bullish. Oh, we've had a breakout. The herd, extremely bullish. Or the bears that told us we were going to crash down at, when I called the day of the bottom, told us this rally is never going to happen. Now it's, and I told you they were going to do this. They're going to rise back up. Bears would be proven wrong. They're going to tell us, oh, now the crash is going to happen. Well, again, I think both of those scenarios are going to be wrong. I don't think we're going to crash. I think this is the bottom. I think you'll end up getting a bigger pullback, but we'll get a pop higher first. Told you over here, the sideways move, we get a pop higher towards these trend lines. We did. I don't think it's done yet. I think we still reach this other trend line in all likelihood. So that's my take on it, but markets are designed to fool most of the people most of the time, and I think you're going to have that herd being super bearish, believing this is a breakout, and the bears believing got a massive double or triple top here. You got bears on social media telling us that the peak's now in, and we're going to now come back and take out this low, and it's over. And again, bouncing off of this area, Bitcoin's average price, a 50-week moving average, horizontal support, that was extremely bullish. So I warned, and that's why I got so bullish at the bottom and predicted the day of the bottom, because I have good indicators. Now, if we look at the Bitcoin futures, we saw this divergence on the histogram for the MACD give us this sell-off we've had right here. And it could get bigger, still end up forming a larger divergence on the oscillator, maybe even on the MACD itself. The MACD's rolled over, still in positive territory, but could this be a smaller pullback and we still have our first wave under construction? Again, if we start seeing signals all begin to turn bearish, get a bigger pullback right here and now, and then the peak recently had could be marked as a short-term chop. My guess is that's not going to be the case. I could be completely wrong. Telling you what I think. Correct about the day of the bottom. I was correct about this rally. Correct about the December top and the January top. I'm not going to always be right. I made mistakes. Just telling you what I think. I think we're probably pulling back. We're going to get another push higher and get the bigger pullback. I think a divergence is likely going to form here on the awesome oscillator. really a class B divergence where you had almost two equal peaks here forming that peak right there. I think you're going to get a class A divergence where you get a lower high on the indicator and a higher high with price. I think we'll see something that looks similar to this over here, probably not as long, but I still think we're going to reach that 113,000 area or even overthrow it. We can go 113,000 above it to 114,000 to 117,000 or so, very easily overthrowing the neckline. We're going to get a divergence that looks something similar to this over here, and that while we had pullbacks here and right here, we still had that final push higher in forming a larger divergence. I think that will be the case here. Just my 2 cents on that. This is a wave 4 in the wave 1. It still may be a bigger pullback, not the deep one that I'm calling for. I think the S&P 500 seen here and the NASDAQ are going to do the same thing. I think NASDAQ's already pushing above the previous high in May. The S&P is not there yet. I think the S&P will end up pushing back up and gravitating towards the February high, maybe even join Bitcoin and make a new all-time high. But I think you're going to see some green going forward. Maybe right now we're just kind of going sideways. But I think, either next week or late next week, I think you'll begin to, maybe we go a little bit lower and continue sideways or try to do it early on next week. But I think you're going to end up seeing a divergence develop on these awesome oscillators and these RSIs on both the NASDAQ, the S&P, and with Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is forming a massive inverse head and shoulders pattern. Let me just bring this in a little closer here. I think that this is likely the wave 4 in our first wave higher. I think we're going to end up pushing up one more time. This trend line right here is at the 113,000 area. It might be a little bit higher than that. If we take our time reaching it, we could even overthrow it. Again, 114 to 117,000 very easily. But I think you're going to end up getting a 13 countdown sell signal, and maybe we get the 13 and we go a little higher. Maybe it completes on the way up. We had a 13 here, and we went a little bit lower. Here the 13 marked a top back in December. I used this to help me call the top along with other indicators in the trend line in the weekly time frame. Over here on inauguration day, we had a top. The very next day, we got a 9 count. Over here, the 9 count marked a counter trend. Over here, it marked tops, and over here, a bottom. You're going to likely see the 13 count. So I think you're probably going to get like a doji today, or maybe we go a little bit lower and then go higher. But you could see a bottom today and then push on higher over the weekend or on into early next week. We'll see what happens. The bullish golden cross will be associated with a peak here. So far it is. And maybe that's it. Maybe I'm wrong. Looking for a bigger pullback, but I need to see more evidence, to be honest with you. If that was a top there at 112,000, we moved just beyond the trend line there at 111,000, hit 112,000 and turned down. Maybe that's it. I drew that trend line before we reached it. I think you're going to push above that level and push up here into this area and maybe even overthrow that trend line there at around 113,000. Now, if we were to reach it, it's at the high 113,000 area or so. If we take our time, be 114,000, or again overthrowing that level. But this is what I think is going on. Again, Bird told us the sell-off we have right now, no way that's going to happen, yet it's happening. My guess is it's just a smaller pullback. I think we get a larger pullback later. I don't think this is it, but again, get evidence of that. I'll change my mind. Right now I don't have enough evidence of that. I still think this is likely the wave 4 in our first wave. I think you'll end up getting the 13 count with the push higher. You got to be above the bar from 2 bars ago. Let me bring it up close so you can see what I'm looking at. And here's the doji right now that we're getting. Again, a doji could be a continuation or a reversal. We'll see which one this is. Again, we still have a lot of time left in the session. I think you got a good shot at this level holding. This is some key support with trend indicators. We start breaking this level. Some trend signals might start turning back to bearish. All of them have. They're a little bit more sensitive, but momentum's bearish on some indicators. This is likely a pullback for 4, and then we'll see if we get a push up here, overthrow this level. We had the 9 count over here. It was not a perfected signal. It was correct, though. We went sideways. A trend extension, and we went higher. It's likely that we still are in that trend extension. We got a 9. It was followed by the beginning of a 13 countdown sell signal. You have 1, and we're up to bar 12. There's been breaks. There can be interruptions. 13 count, there can be no interruptions in a 9 count. Up to bar 12 at the high bar there. So I think we're going to end up pushing back up, and if we start getting above the bar from 2 bars ago, then you'll see the 13 form. The 13 bar is the peak like it was in December. Maybe we get a 13 bar and then we go a little bit higher like we saw with the bottom. We got a 13 bar and we went a little bit lower to complete the double bottom pattern. So watching this, I think the 13 is likely going to still form here. I still think we're going to reach this level, break down further, and see more signals turn bearish. We're going to sell off right here, right now, get a bigger sell off. I think we still extend the rally. Again, I talked about getting a pop and then a drop, pop, a top, and a drop. I still think that we got the rally I predicted, but I don't think it's done yet. I still think we're going a little bit higher. We'll see what happens. Bitcoin's forming this massive inverse head and shoulders pattern. I think that, again, we'll stall somewhere here between the 61.8 fib and the 78.6 fib expansions of the previous move. I think you're going to stall somewhere in that range there. That's why I'm telling you you could get an overthrow. But I think that these highs are possibly pointing to the next high. I think that's very, very possible, and that we just push up here, maybe even overthrow it just a little tiny bit and come back down. Or again, like I said, you might go closer to the 78.6 Fibonacci extension. These highs very well could be pointing to the next high. I think we pull back at the right shoulder, and then I think you get a breakout and you go much, much higher. And the Fibonacci extensions up here, the 1.27, 150,000, almost 151,000, all the way up to the 1.786 extension to 181,500. I think somewhere in here, and again, that's why I've been talking about the 150,000 to 175,000 area. 171,000 is their 1.618 expansion. So again, wouldn't be surprised to see this inverse head and shoulders pattern play out and this surge up into this area, going forward on into the summer, on into maybe the fall. So again, while I believe that we're going to have a pullback, I think we probably are not done with the rally, and then I think you get a bigger pullback, and I think this larger, much larger advance takes place. Remain even longer term, I think we'll get a pullback. I think that longer term we're going to go much higher. A lot of signals are still hanging in there, They're trend signals. A couple of trend signals have turned bearish, but a lot of them are still just hanging in there. Some momentum signals have turned bearish, but and a couple of trend signals are bearish, but most of the trend signals are hanging in there. So again, is this just a short-term pullback? Still go try to reach the trend line for the neckline of the inverse head and shoulders, the trend line from the previous highs in December, January. Here, momentum down, but the bars are still blue, reflecting the trend, and they turn blue with the breakout. Here, bars still blue, the line's still blue. Turned blue right before the breakout. Downward trend, we had the double bottom breakout. Again, everything's still bullish hanging in there here. I still think that we could reach this trend line or even overthrow it. Unless we start seeing all my signals begin to turn bearish, I still think we get another push higher or a bigger pullback. Now, we don't have a bearish reversal of conditions as I'm showing you in this video with the Bitcoin futures, but we did see the momentum line here with Bitcoin's price turn bearish. We saw that over here and we still went higher. Again, we had the bottoming signals at the bottom. Then we saw the momentum turn bullish. The momentum line validated the bottom, okay? Back when I called the bottom, 50% ago, rally we were told we were not going to have by the bears. Right now, the trend signals are still hanging in there. Now look at this again. We're coming right up to the cloud right here. We breach it. We get a little bit bigger of a pullback, but it still may not be a bigger one. Still may try to reach the trend line I've been talking about for a neckline of an inverse head and shoulders pattern. Over here, the bottom at Bitcoin's average price, momentum flipped, had it try to turn bearish here with the sideways move, right back to bullish. Got some topping signals, warning of short-term momentum turning. It was correct. Warning signs here. That's given us volatility here, and now the volatility here. Again, shaded areas telling us that a squeeze move is getting ready to happen. Could it be that we begin to move in the other direction? We've had the sell-off. The balance of power is still positive. So we'll see if we can put in a short-term bottom and resume the advance just a little bit higher before getting a bigger pullback. We're going to get a bigger pullback right now. Trend signals all have to turn bearish. Now, look at this line right here. It's starting to flatten out. Do you see this right here? It's starting to flatten out, moving from green to orange. Do you see this? It's not turning red, it's turning orange, and it's going sideways. Oftentimes when that happens, you'll come to that level or just under that level, and then you'll turn back up, go to a new high. Over here we did it, right here. We went from red, sideways, went a little bit higher, went just beyond the line here, but then we went down to a new low, and then we bottomed out. The opposite here, we could bottom out here or just a little bit lower and then rebound still to a new high if this is a corrective 4 in our first wave higher. Just food for thought. I think we get something like the December high, and here we had a peak in November. We pulled back, we started seeing the line go sideways, and we ended up going to a new high. Then we topped, actually evolved into a larger double top pattern as I talked about back in January. I think that this is suggesting we're going to get a bounce. But even with the pullback here, again, the trend signals are still hanging in there. I still think we're going to reach this trend line or maybe even overthrow it and likely go to the 113,000, maybe as high as 117,000, but more likely 113, 114, 115,000 or so. Again, my signals correctly called the bottom here on April 9th. We got several bottoming signals, April 7th. 7th, 8th, and 9th, we got several bottoming signals, like we had the topping signals back over here. And these signals are just looking at short-term momentum, but oftentimes they're associated with tops and bottoms. Here it was momentum, a downturn of momentum, a downturn of momentum. Here, possible top or downturn of momentum. Here, bars are turning to red. Trend signals are still hanging in there. Of green going on, okay? So we could bounce here or even go a little bit lower and bounce. Risen 50%, rally we were told wasn't going to happen without being told Bitcoin's going down. I think we get a little push higher, and then I think you get a bigger corrective move. The trend signals are still hanging in there. You got red bars here. They flip back to green, and the green remain with the signals here. We'll see what happens. Absolutely incredible signals, nailing the bottom and predicting the rally. Could be warning of a top. My guess is it's a pullback, but it could be. I needed to see more signals up there warning of a top, and we didn't get more signals warning of a top, but we did get it here in a few other places. Now, look at the Bollinger Bands here. Again, didn't get a topping signal here. We don't have to get one. More often than not, they show up, but not always. We're still seeing bullish signals, but again, look at right here. We're seeing this green line turning to orange, going sideways. That's what happened in December, and we still pushed up to the upper Bollinger Band. I think you're going to see something very similar to that. I don't know if it goes on that long, but peak right here, we didn't push above the upper band. I think you're going to do it. We did it over here in January. We did it over here in December. We did it down here at the bottom here. We did it down here at the bottom here for a double bottom pattern. Again, trend signals hanging in there. We're seeing the Bollinger Bands begin to contract. So I think you're going to end up trying to rebound. Maybe you go a little bit lower and do it, but I don't think this is the bigger pullback yet. This is a smaller pullback for wave 4, and I still think you're going to try to push above that upper band go to 113,000 to 117,000 or so. Above it here, you could go to the levels I'm talking about. The upper band is right around the 11,500 area right now. We can overthrow it, go to 113, 114, 115 very easily. And we may do that and see a topping signal. So I am not convinced that this is the peak right here. I still think we're going to get another push higher. I could be completely wrong, but I absolutely have the guts to tell you what I think. Very few people will tell you what they think. We get the pullback that I believe was going to happen. We're going to pop and then the top and the drop. Moon boys are going to be repeating what I'm saying about an inverse head and shoulders pattern. I predict things before they happen. The moon boys predict things after they happen. No topping signal here yet. We don't have to get, we've got another bullish signal. See what happens. But trend signals are still trying to hang in there. We didn't get a bottoming signal here. We did get one over here, but we had some nice topping signals over here. So again, top is in. I think we need to see more evidence of that. I don't see enough evidence myself. Showing you the charts to let you make up your own mind. Now here, again, I had no topping circle up here. Maybe it's like over here. We got a topping circle here and we went higher, and then the bar slipped to red and we got the bearish cloud and the bearish arrow. Very similar here. This was confirmed with momentum going negative. We don't have that yet. Again, it's still possible we see more divergences develop, like on the RSI, the awesome oscillator, things like that. But you got some bearish things going on here. Could just be a bigger pullback. We'll see what happens. Move into the much bigger pullback that I'm talking about if we can confirm this as a peak. Right now, I don't think there's enough evidence out to do that. Bullish divergence here with momentum gave us the bottom, the bottoming signals. We had the rally. Momentum's bearish, trend signal's still bullish. We go negative here with the momentum. We could get a bigger sell-off. But if we end up turning back up or go slightly negative and turn back up, again, you still might push higher. The background's still green. The ribbon and the cloud are still green. The trend is just marking the short-term trend is still bullish. We're above the 200 period moving average. So we'll end up getting a bigger pullback. I think you're probably not done with the first wave.